So hello to everybody who's listening. I'm here this morning. My name is Maura Davis. I'm the CEO and founder of counselling an Irish resource of counsellors, psychotherapists and psychologists throughout Ireland. And I'm chatting this morning to Monica Haughey, a psychotherapist and mental health professional, and also an entrepreneur and innovator, and someone who constantly encourages us and prompts us to consider the way we live, not only dealing with crisis, but how we live our lives. And Monica's doing lots of really interesting things, and she's going to chat to us about some of that this morning. So let's kick off, Monica. Do you want to say a little bit about, the background, your profession, and then, what has brought you, I suppose, to this? What has led you to this place where this is the direction you want to go in?
Yeah. Well, thank you, Maura, for that lovely introduction. I suppose, yeah. So I work as a psychotherapist, and then for the last couple of years, I've been running groups with female entrepreneurs, and then more recently with psychotherapists who want support in growing and developing their practice. So your question is what's led me to this? I think that psychotherapists have a huge role to play at the moment in terms of societal changes, and our work has always been about helping people become more aware, help people cope with change, and help people step into who they really are and into more of their potential. So in the last few years, and there was also a leadership course that I participated in, and then I went back as a facilitator, I realized psychotherapy has so much to offer in so many arenas around helping people unravel their potential, what's holding them back, and really sort of adapting and being more fully themselves and their full strengths.
And isn't that fantastic, Monica? Do you know, isn't that fantastic? Because we tend to think of therapy and psychotherapy as crisis. People come to us in distress. They come to us when they're in crisis, and we help them with that. But it has such a huge role to play in actually taking that step when you move a little beyond crisis and saying, how do you want to live your life? What is it? How do you want to be in the world, and looking beyond that? And you're really encouraging people, isn't it? That's what you're saying, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I mean, I wanted to talk to you because of your work with therapists and your network on the website, your counselling and therapy forum. I wanted to talk to you about the groups I'm running for psychotherapists, because obviously in our training, we are well skilled up in how to work with people, but often we're not told, I think probably across the board, none of the courses are showing people about how can they grow and develop their business. How do they want to apply psychotherapy? Obviously, most therapists start in a consulting room. I myself then moved into some workplace wellness stuff, and then I moved into working with groups around female entrepreneurs, and now these groups I'm running are with psychotherapists as well as other entrepreneurs. But I do think that psychotherapists can really benefit from the support of listening to other forward-thinking therapists about what kind of clients do they really want, rather than taking in everybody who comes, to really value their work and charge properly for what they're doing, and to be able to go out into whatever forums and say, hey, this is who I am, this is what I'm offering, and what problem you're wanting to address. I've been running webinars on trends in society and opportunities for psychotherapists, and there's
So let's go back to the groups then, Monica. So your practice development group, this is a group environment for therapists to come into this space together with an open mind around, and a really explorative sort of sense around how do they want to have their practice? How do they want to be? What vision do they see for themselves? Is that
exactly? So I mean, I've been running a group during the summer, and they've been, somebody has already doing online counselling with people in Saudi Arabia or Dubai, I think it is, and someone else is saying, oh, how do you do that, and how do you get that set up, and I used to live somewhere else. And so it's a forum for people to identify what it is that they really love to be doing, how they might grow their practice that suits them and their lifestyles, and to make it a viable practice. as I say, certainly I assumed that once I was trained as a psychotherapist, I would sort of wait for people to come to me. And I used to always think that if I was really good, that people would just knock on the door. But, it doesn't quite work like that. And, so in the group, we talk about, well, what would you really love to be doing? How are you going to get there? And what are your limiting beliefs that hold you back? And everybody has limiting beliefs. And no matter what groups that I've worked with, in whatever capacity, there's always sort of, well, we can't do that, or I don't want to put myself out there, or what do people think, or psychotherapists don't really make much money anyway, or it's going to be hard. We all have those. So that's the idea of the group, that we sort of support people in sort of what is it that they'd like to be doing, and really take really seriously about applying their skills.
Yeah, and I suppose that's what I do, Monica, really, in counselling and therapy. That's why I set it up. I'm a psychotherapist. But also, there is this fabulous community of really highly skilled, qualified counsellors, psychotherapists, psychologists in Ireland. And to bring that resource to the public, make it available to people so that they can come, that's at the core of it, because there is a tremendous resource. There's just a huge community of really dedicated, skilled, really, excellent therapists throughout the country and to make that easily accessible to the public, not only, as I say, when they're in crisis, but also therapy is about much more than that, is what you're saying, Monica, isn't it? The whole piece. Yeah,
absolutely. I was thinking about what you're saying about, your work with the local pharmacy, or that network of pharmacies. And
yes, McCabe's pharmacy.
Yeah, and it's like, how do we convert what we do? And you said you did a talk with them around anxiety, but I think that's what we need to be doing, to converting our skills and to what do people need. Like when I was doing my trends and opportunities for psychotherapists webinars, I was looking in the UK, and there have therapists are out in GPs talking about fear, and so GPs are able to say, well, we're running this webinar on fear in these current times or something like that. But teenagers, there's a lot of teens needing support, but it's like adapting what we do, and we're not just there for long-term, in-depth sort of childhood sort of traumatic stuff when people, that's still needed, but there's also a whole other arena we need to sort of be able to talk about ourselves and convert it to what's the need as well.
That's right. And the partnership from McCabe's came out of that, because Sharon McCabe runs McCabe's pharmacies, and they're very geared towards and very, very conscious of holistic health, the overall health picture, and looking for innovative ways to bring that and taking care of the whole person. When you think of a pharmacy, you think of going to collect your script, but that's only a portion of what they do there. And it is looking after the whole health of the person, the mental health, the physical health, and then all the other pieces as well. So that kind of like-mindedness, and you touch on this a little, Monica, on your website and in your development group, the building the tribe of like-minded people, and and what that can bring.
Oh yes, I just think that's why I love running groups, because it becomes less about me and more about what happens in the room. If people are given the place to be listened to, and so I would facilitate it quite well, if nobody's dominating it, but it's like, it's amazing just the connections. And at the end of our last online summer psychotherapy practice development group, someone says, I always feel so energized when I come off these calls.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, the creativity, Monica, that comes out of that is amazing, isn't it?
And, absolutely. I mean, I've been doing some structured inputs as well. I think people like a little bit of, well, we're going to talk about marketing, or we're going to talk about putting yourself out there and what's wrong. Because as psychotherapists, generally, we're quite private. We're not good at getting out talking about what we're doing.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
Time is, so what's your elevator pitch? I am whoever, and what I offer is, or the problem I'm trying to address, and who your ideal client is. I think it's very interesting for us to look at that and make.
And it is, and I really think there's huge value in the long term for people. How we see therapy and how we've seen it in the past, that it goes, it's for crisis, but it goes beyond that. And when people are looking at supporting their mental health, that in the crisis, but also outside of that and through the lifespan, that it's something that they could potentially touch in and out of, come into a space, use that space to learn about themselves, check in and see, are they living their life the way they want? Is it, living well, living wholesomely, living, quality of life, all of that, touching into, empowering themselves, making choices, taking responsibility, all of those pieces. And therapy has a huge role in all of that for people to touch into, as they go along, to support themselves through that.
And I think that we do have roles in companies, in organizations. I would have done it from my own work to workplace wellness and, talks on mental health. But I think beyond that, about working with senior leaders and helping them sort of recognize their strengths and support staff. And there's so many avenues we can go towards if we get the support. And that's what these groups are about, getting people to sit down. What do they want? And I think one of the things I've noticed in my work is that often as psychotherapists, we're empathic. So we're all about the other. And this group is like, what about you? What's brought you here? And so it's for either the new people who are just out of college and then remembering what it is, why they came into this, and what are their strengths and how do they want to apply them and open up the choice.
Super.
Established and feeling, oh God, I've been doing this, and I'm busy enough, but it doesn't make my heart sing anymore. Well, then let's look at what does. And I think if we can allow ourselves to grow and change, then of course our work will be better, and our clients.
Of course as well. Of course as well.
Opportunity to re-look at ourselves and our work and what we're about. So that's why I'm going to be I've been running groups of female entrepreneurs. But I wanted to talk to you about these groups for psychotherapists. And
and you've some other webinars that you also run, that you've done, Monica. Do you want to speak a little bit about those?
Yes, well, I had the one about the trends and opportunities for psychotherapists. That was I did that through the Online Therapy Academy. And then I've also done one just about the creative opportunities of this junction or society, because I think there's a lot of doom and gloom and negativity and at the moment, and certainly the media, where there's a very sort of negative media influence at the moment. And so the webinars are doing about seeing the opportunities at this time. And I think lots of people have seen them if they're invited to, around, people sort of getting out more, they're exercising in the park more, they're meeting outside more, they're noticing what's in front of them, they're taking photographs of flowers and
Isn't it really interesting that out of this global crisis, and and it reflects our own, it encourages to realize, I think, our own resilience, that and all the doom and gloom that's out there and all the challenges, and it is, there's and it has presented huge issues for people, but it has also really drawn us out, when it's made us really reconsider what's really important in our lives and what we need. And when it boils down to it, a lot of the commercial kind of stuff isn't that important after all. And it's really drawn people out of their homes, out on their bikes, out into the mountains, out into the, the pathways, out into the sea, everything. It's got to connect, what they're reaching for to support their well-being are those kind of things, which is exactly what's going to give it to them. Do you know that? And the, it's the climate change piece and all of the crisis that we're in. And the taking responsibility for that, this is the good that has come out of it, I think, really. And young people have had a fantastic role to play. And I applaud them for this, because they've forced us to look at this, because they're the next generation that we're handing all this on to. But it has really encouraged us to reevaluate all of that in a way that's great.
And that's where our skills come in, because we're absolutely really good at listening and helping people uncover. I had a new client recently. She only came for 2 sessions. I was a bit disappointed, but she was in. But because she felt better and skipped out the door, and she said that she was living in a relationship that the fellow was very nice, etc., but really it wasn't satisfying anymore. She could now work from home. She's Eastern European, loves foraging mushrooms. She's got a crochet thing going on. She crochets, and she texted me, saying she's looking at some place down in Wexford or somewhere, West Wicklow, going off. You can see her working from home, very good job. She's going to be foraging mushrooms. She's going to be doing her crochet. She's going to be happy as you like.
It's
through therapy, and that was what she needed, is just to support somebody. One of the things on my new website I'm talking about is courageous next step. We're all being forced to reevaluate, do things differently, And that's what psychotherapy can be about, is helping you. And that's
and be courageous. Yeah, isn't it? And it is about support. It's about supporting people to make that, and it can be daunting, but it's about supporting people to live their lives the way they want to live them and the way that is meaningful to them, and take charge of that themselves, which is great. Yeah, which is great. Yeah. So what else you've got? You've got some other things coming up. Your virtual classroom. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, Monica? You've lots of things going on. You're so innovative.
Not unveiled yet, but I having sort of done these groups for a couple of years and done my, facilitated senior leaders, and I ran a conference a couple of years ago, the Conscious Living and Working Conference. And I was thinking, here as a psychotherapist again, this is what we're about, helping people become more aware, conscious,
Yeah.
And so I'm going to run classrooms as part of a school for conscious living and working. And it's about making different offerings to people around how we can navigate these times and become more conscious, to be more satisfied, to live lives which are more in line with who we really are. And I think that our businesses will benefit, our environment will benefit, our relationships will benefit. It's all joined up. But so I'm doing all of that. But I suppose in terms of your audience, I'd love to work with any of the psychotherapists or ask them to get in touch with me. I'm running a webinar on Saturday, the 11th of September. I can send you the details.
Sure. I'll put it up on the website, Monica. We'll put a link up there. So it'll be on our news page, and let our members know that that's there. Absolutely.
And then talk about the 6 months course. But I'll be asking people if they're interested. Then do they want supervision? Do they want practice development? And they do count. That this will count as part of your supervision, because it's about your growth, the practice growth.
Yeah. And actually, I had by coincidence. It's funny. By coincidence, I've had an inquiry from somebody this morning inquiring about a practice or a supervision group. So this might exactly hit the spot. So there you go. Build a stadium and the people will come, Monica. Isn't that what they say? Build a stadium and the people will come. Isn't that what they say?
I'm just thinking that's the other benefit of COVID is, on those webinars I had with psychotherapists, somebody from Carlow and Tipperary and Cork, it's just amazing that the distance doesn't matter anymore, that we can all connect.
And there is the community. And I'm feeling this, in counselling and therapy, because I'm talking to therapists and clients every day, and that sense of, that community, there's just something tremendous in that, and supporting each other. That's
fantastic. No, it's nice that you're doing great work with your website, Maura, and thank you.
Well, that's trying to deliver, and at the cornerstone of it, it's delivering some real quality to our users, which are clients, looking for a therapist, and to give them that extra bit of just the personal, bespoke kind of contact, because it's daunting looking for a therapist and trying to find somebody. And the professional environment, it's not that it's unstructured, it's self-regulated, and it's coming all together, and statutory regulation is on the way, but it can be difficult for somebody who doesn't know anything about the environment to find which ones are okay and which ones aren't, and which organizations are the ones to choose. And I've brought them all the key professional bodies that will have subscribed to the standards for statutory regulation, for core regulation in due course, and so that every user knows that any therapist on the website will meet that kind of standard, so they can have trust and confidence in the therapist that they're choosing. So it's about that quality, and it's also about that extra bit of just that bespoke contact. We get in touch with people the minute they get in touch with us. We get back to them really quickly, really straight away, to give them that bit of support straight away, because essentially people coming looking for therapy, they're already in some kind of distress, either themselves directly or somebody, so it's to reach out and offer that kind of bridge to them. So and then it's about promoting the therapists, because as you say, they're not good at promoting themselves, so try to help promote the therapists and showcase them. And because, as I say, we have this fantastic community of really skilled, qualified people, really experienced, who can deal with every issue. So that's tremendous. So that's it. So for more information on all of what you have to offer, Monica, it's all available. monicahaughey.ie. monicahaughey.ie.
That's right.
It'll also be on our own website, counselingandtherapy.com. So if anybody wants to contact Monica, they can do it through one of those ways.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And I'm also on Instagram with my name, Monica Haughey. You'll find me on Instagram as well. So
super.
Thank you very much indeed for the opportunity. And
not at all, Monica. Pleasure to talk to you as always. Always.
Thanks. Bye-bye.